reliable used SUV, something is best on.
Connection loss.
Hey guys, good morning everybody. Today is Monday, December 8th. Hopefully everyone had a great weekend. Finally back in my home office. Feels good to be back. Of course, got a connection loss over here on NinjaTrader just to make sure everything's good. All right, everything's good. So yeah, guys, good morning everybody. Today is Monday, December 8th. It is 6:25 right now. We have market opening up in about 5 minutes. So let's see who's here so far. Morning, Masij. Morning, Darren. Morning, Daniel. Morning, Maria. Morning, everybody. Yeah, if you guys look at the list for today, there's a lot of entries. A lot of entries, so that's good. Let's see what we got. Hopefully, we got some good entries like we did on Friday. Friday was a 10-hour day. I updated the spreadsheet, guys. So if you guys looked at the spreadsheet, Thursday wasn't a great day. It was a negative 5-hour day, but Friday was a positive plus 10-hour day. So it pretty much made back double or made back what was lost on Thursday and doubled up on it with the overall trades. So if you guys looked at the trades, I mean, you guys will see. But for today, there's a lot that are available. There's like two sections of target entries, of course. Um, and we'll see what we can get from there. But we'll be looking. So the first entry is not going to come up for a little while. But we do have some listed entries prior. So if you guys have access to the algo, if you guys have access to the list, feel free to pull up the list on Discord. Let's see how many entries are on here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. 19 listed trades for the day. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 target entries. So a lot of entries right there to look at. Hey, Mendez, morning, Lila, morning, Maria, morning, everybody. Um, yeah, so we'll see what happens here when market opens up. We'll see how volatility is. There's no news for today, so not really much to look at with regard to fundamentals. For this week, we have JOLTS job openings on Tuesday. We have employment news, gas stock change, Fed interest rate projections, Fed interest rate decision on the 10th. So it's forecasted for there to be a rate cut. I don't think there's going to be a rate cut though. Just from what I see, it just doesn't look like there's going to be a rate cut because of everything that's been going on. There's not enough data coming out, or maybe there will be a rate cut. It's forecasted to drop another quarter, but I highly doubt that's going to happen. But I mean, who knows, right? I said that last time, and it dropped a quarter, so we'll see. Thursday we have PPI. So this is inflation week, guys. We have PPI, CPI, producer price index, consumer price index on the 11th. And then Friday, it's pretty much Fed day, just Fed speeches. So there's not a lot of news this week. It's interest or sorry, interest. Technically it is interest rate week, and then inflation week. Last week was NFP jobs data, but the jobs data didn't come out, so it's a weird time. It's weird that they just push off NFP like that. NFP is like the biggest economic news event that comes out each month, and they just kind of pushed away this month where they just didn't have enough data, I guess. So we'll see. Yeah, CERN said tomorrow's NFP. It's not listed, but we'll see. I mean, I would have thought they would have updated it by now, but they haven't. So they're scheduling NFP for tomorrow, but I just don't see it on the list yet. So I know you mentioned it the other day, CERN, but we'll see when it actually gets to that point. Masij said they will cut whatever Trump wants he gets, unfortunately. Yeah, the cuts are kind of crazy. It's like it just doesn't make sense for there to be interest rate cuts right now because the economy's not great. Interest rates aren't great. I mean, inflation's not great. We'll see. But like Masij mentioned, whatever Trump wants, he gets usually, and he's been pushing for this rate cut for a while. There's also going to be transition with the head of the Fed. Powell's going to go away. Someone new is coming in. So if we don't get the cut today, or if we don't get the cut on Wednesday, it's going to come eventually. So again, if you guys are looking to take the breakout for today, it's going to be with momentum. So we got market opening up in about 25 seconds. Momentum right now is currently bearish. So we'll see what happens here. Thanks, Cern. Yeah, Cern said he'll update if any news comes. Yeah, I guess we'll see. I do think it's really odd that NFP is coming out on a Tuesday. I remember when you mentioned it, I was like, that's very, very unusual, but it is what it is. All right, big drop right there, guys. There goes the breakout on open. That's the 629 entry, full TP right there. You can see the short position right here came up on this candle and it exited right there for full TP. So if you guys decided to get into that position right there, first win for the day, first win for the week. Was not a target entry, but damn, look at that big dump. All right, look at that big, huge dump right there. That's huge. So this is why I don't trade the open, especially not on a Monday. 106 points, guys, within seconds. 10-second drop, 106 points. Okay, well, there goes algo entries for today. So we got that right there. That's going to be the 629 win for plus 2R. Currently got 2R so far today. A win, 0 loss, plus 2R. All right, now we wait for the next one. So there goes the first entry right there. I'm going to update the spreadsheet as we go so I don't have to do this later. All right, next one is coming up in a few minutes. Not quite yet, but that's a big dump. So big drop right there. If you guys are just joining in, first entry for the day, 629 came up right there, full TP. Dropped almost 200 points, it looks like. I mean, not really a surprise there, 131 points. Yeah, not too big of a surprise there. We usually get this big dump on open on Monday usually, so it's still dumping. It's down 160 points. We'll see how far it drops down. We'll see if there's market structure here for me to mark up. Probably not at this point because price pretty much dumped down so heavily. I'll go over to the main chart. So blasted right through the Asia low right there. There was a resistance right here. So there's a huge imbalance that just came up right here, obviously. You guys can see. Not that it's important or that it really matters, but it's a huge imbalance right there. I'm curious to see the market profile now because of that huge imbalance. That's the markup chart. Let's take a look at the overall trend. So the overall trend here was actually bullish, and now it's dumped super heavily to the downside. So, this is why I say technicals kind of go out of the window sometimes, because if you were looking for a buy here, you would have gone totally screwed, right? Because it was bullish prior. I mean, it's bullish here right before market opened up, and then it came straight down right after. Let me check CNBC and see if there's any breaking news. Not really. See, it reports the opposite. If you look over here, we just had a big drop, almost 200 points, and it says here S&P rises led by tech sector as Broadcom gains. IBM makes $11 billion deal. Uh, yeah, it definitely didn't go up. It went down. So huge, huge spike to the downside right there on open. I mean, it doesn't really matter to us too much because we're not really looking to get into that. But you can see here the trend is it's you can't really make out of what's going to happen because everything here is pretty mixed, right? Price is now coming back to retest the imbalance right here, possibly. Market structure is pretty mixed, right? Neutral on the 1, bearish on the 5, bearish on the 15, neutral on the 30, bullish on the 1 hour, and bullish on the 4 hour. So we'll see if there's a correction back up. If not, that's completely fine. There's no need to force anything here. So we'll see what happens next. We have the other entry coming up in a bit. If you guys are following the algo list. Okay, I wanted to see the market. I wanted to see the yeah, market profile here. So looking at the market profile, actually came down and it retested the value high from Thursday. So to see this level right here, this is the value high from Thursday right here. Price came down, it's bouncing off the value high or value low. So we'll see how price reacts to that point right there. There's two levels right there. Let's see. For anybody who's looking to take the orb just closed. Looks like. Or no, yeah, it just closed. It hasn't pushed down yet. I mean, it's huge, huge range come out. So if you guys are looking to take the orb right there. Let's see. Okay, so there's going to be no entry at 635. I mean, if you guys are looking to take it, I'm just listing it here, but there's not going to be an entry because it's for buy and there's no buy there, right? We have a sell momentum. So there's no entry right there for 635 if you guys are looking at the algo list. Next one you guys can see it's coming up as well. Depending on how this signal here closes, there may be a no entry for that one as well. So we'll see here as price continues to move along. All right, let me go check over here real quick. Let me scroll up to make sure I'm not missing anything. Let's see, Masih said momentum is already dying. It's just market manipulation. It'll come right back up. Daniel said on the target entries, are we disregarding direction or are we taking the entry with momentum? So I haven't really made that decision yet, to ignore the, I mean, moving forward, we probably want to ignore the direction of momentum of, the buy or the sell direction. But I think for now, I might continue following. I'd rather have less entries that are more quality versus, um, having a lot of entries. So yeah, if that's the case, I just realized, yeah, thanks for mentioning that, Daniel, because I'm looking over here at and thanks, Missy, for responding to it as well. It'd be a no entry because if we were looking in the direction of the momentum, that would be an actual no entry. So I'm gonna put a no entry there. I mean, it did win, but I'm gonna put no entry there. If we were going with no direction, of course. So I'm just gonna put it there. 635 actually would have won. So this is why I'm kind of like an in between right now, right? Because this would have won if we didn't go for the buy, right? Because obviously the buy there was like 100% for buys, but the buy didn't come up, so it was no entry. Um, Even this one right here at 635, this is no entry, but it would have won, right? It would have won because of the obvious. And then we have the 637, which just came up right here. This was also for a sell. And this one just hit full TP. So, I mean, even if we didn't count the first one, this one's still won. So there's still a win right there. So 637 right here. It looks like I don't have to change anything anyways, because this was a win right here. So I'll leave that as is. One win for the day so far. So there goes the 637 if you guys are following the algo list. Um, yeah, so let me take this off then. There's actually no entry at that 629. Um, But yeah, I mean, for right now, I'm gonna stick to like following the direction, unless the direction is like really close, right? So for example, if you look at the 637 entry, if you look at the data, it shows a 55% overall, 50% for buy, 57% for sell, right? So for that one, it's really close. If they're like really close in percentages, then maybe I'll just go with either one. But for the most part, we'll still stick with the direction for now because I don't want to make too many big changes at once, right? I'm gonna slowly transition to no more direction. Or maybe once Masich has the data, we can actually make that decision. We just don't have the data yet for sure before I can really make that leap, of course. So we'll we'll see. Let's see, 637. Oh, actually, so let me take that back, guys. This is again was no entry. Sorry, that one was against. This is why I don't really like, on the spreadsheet, I think I might color the against a different color. I might color it like yellow or something because it's like kind of throws me off that we have a couple against here. So anyways, that would have been no entry for 637 because it was for a sell, but the sell never came. There was a buy signal or there was no buy signal that came up, right? So they just would have been a no entry. So a couple no entries here. Sorry guys, a lot. Sorry for the confusion. I'm gonna color the against ones like yellow or something because it's throwing me off when I can't. I mean, they all look the same, obviously. Yeah, I'll just color it like I'm updating it right now. There we go. Yeah, I mean, we're not taking any against entries, so I mean, it wouldn't even have been a one to look at. But again, that's another no entry. So far, if we were looking at the entries by following the direction, it'd be no entry. If we weren't following the direction, 629 would have been a win, and yeah, etc. There just wouldn't be any setups there. So I'm gonna stick to following direction right now, like we just mentioned. And then once we have the data, once Masij gets the data or whatever, then we can start using it. Right now, we just don't have the data, so I can't trust taking the trade without direction or with direction or et cetera, et cetera. We're just going to stick to what we've been doing. The only change that's really happened is the criteria is not following based on win rate. We're following it based on max equity drawdown, um, probability of profitable trades, and profit factor. And then we're still using direction for now. It just makes things easier because it's like I'm not trying to take every single trade that comes up, right? If you look at the list, there is like, what did I say, 19 trades? I'm not trying to take 19 trades because if I take 19 trades, I got to pay 19 trades in commissions, right? And if I end up at break even for the day, it's gonna eat into my profits, right? So, for example, 10 times 5 times 19, right? I'd pay almost $1,000 in commission if I took every single trade that came up. I'm not trying to pay that much in commission, especially if the trades aren't like quality. So yeah, we'll leave it at that for right now. All right, let's see what we got over here. So the next entry is coming up. We have some time, so there's no rush. And the next entry is not gonna, it's an against momentum, so it's not really one that I'm looking to take. See, Barack mentioned, I think that'd be an area where trades would lose, of course, depending on whatever edge each of us is using. It's in the manipulation zone. Barack said finally bouncing off demand. Lazy though, I feel like we are about the same. We're about the same break. It's considering lack of momentum. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Rock, let's see. Let's go back to the that's like another reason why I don't like using technicals as much, right? Because you can look for that break that you mentioned, but we don't know if it'll actually hold, right? So off this value low over here, we were looking at this for price to bounce off the low right there, but now it's pushing right back below it even further. So if it does drop lower from there, the next target bounce is going to be from down here, right? I mean, did it already bounce from it? Not yet. And this would be the value high from Tuesday, December 2nd. All right, so we'll use this right here. This is the value high from December 2nd. This is the value low from December 3rd. And this is value low from December 4th. So basically all of the structures from last week. We'll come back and take a look at it, but for us, it doesn't really matter because we're not using those structures at all. We're not using any technicals or price action here. We're just going off the algo. Algo so far has had no entries for the list so far. Um, like I said, there's a lot of entries. There's like 19 entries listed for today. I don't want to take all 19 entries. I want to take trades that I find quality and that I think are going to hit, even with the target entries. If you guys look at the target entries, it's a cluster of entries, right? It's like 4 entries. So the odds of me taking all of them are zero to slim, right? Because I'm not taking any overlapping entries and I'm not taking entries that have a penning or a flickering momentum for the most part. So yeah, again, I'd rather take, maybe one, two, three, four, I mean, not even four, maybe like 1 to 3 entries. Ideally, probably one or two quality entries. Um, I'm not looking to take all 6 target entries. And I'm pretty sure they're not going to come up anyways because they're going to be overlapping. So just, something to keep in mind, guys. If you guys are looking to take the target entries, I mean, there's a lot of target entries, and if you take them all, like great, but be prepared to pay, well, depending on your contract size, right? Be prepared to pay a decent amount in commissions. I'm doing 10 contracts on my personal account, so 10, let me just do the math again right here, just to give you guys perspective of like how much. It's not a lot. It's only 300 in commissions, but overlapping positions there. If you lose all of them, or if you lose a handful of them, you have to still pay the commissions. So 6 trades is not as bad as 19, right? Taking 19 trades, you're going to pay about 950 in commissions if you're doing 10 contracts. If you're doing 6 trades, not so bad, 300 in commissions, um, and fees and whatnot. But I prefer to stick with less entries but higher quality. So I'm not looking to jump into every single trade that comes out. But again, we have not a target entry, but we do have a listed entry coming up soon. Target entry clusters are coming up in a bit too. Not yet, but in a bit. Yeah, Masij said, yeah, we have to decide for this month what we're doing. Once we have a deep backtest data, everything is going to change. But at least for this month, in terms of data accuracy, we should pick what we're doing. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to stick to what I'm doing. I'm going to make small adjustments, probably not very often, probably month by month if we do need to make some adjustments or until we have the data. There's no need for us to make like huge adjustments. Like the criteria for our listed entries, it didn't make a big difference, but it does make a difference in the sense that it does identify higher quality entries. Again, if you guys weren't around for when I discussed, the criteria change, the criteria change isn't like it's not a big difference. The main reason for the criteria change here, and this is the criteria change, we just changed from focusing mainly on win rate to mainly focusing on max drawdown and profit factor, right? The reason for that's because the win rate doesn't really matter too much. If you look at the win rate, on average, the trades that do have profitability have about a 50 to 60% win rate. But because it has that, it doesn't make a big difference whether the next trade is going to hit, right? The win rate doesn't determine the next trade. Um, The reason why we focus on max drawdown is because, if you have a max drawdown is less than 10% or less than 8%, it's going to make it virtually impossible to blow your account, right? Unless you're taking some crazy, crazy risk, right? This means, like, for example, if you're taking a 1% risk per trade, if the max drawdown is less than 8%, you can basically lose, right? I mean, it depends on if you're trading a personal account or a prop account. If you're trading a prop account, you should be risking less than 1% anyways per trade. You'd be risking like enough to survive this. But if your drawdown is less than 8%, then you should be able to survive having X amount of losses, right? Like two back-to-back losses or three back-to-back losses, etc. Because you could have those losses, but then once you have the win streak, you make it right back very quickly. That's why the max equity drawdown is very, very important to follow. Because the thing is, losses are going to happen, but you got to be able to survive those losses and make it right back to continue trading, right? I talk about this all the time. Like trading is, you have to treat trading like a marathon, guys. It's not a race to who can make the most profit quickest. It's really who can last in this game long term, right? I've been trading for 12 years now. I've been trading live for over 8 years. That it's not it's not rocket science, right? If you can calculate your risk and you know your probabilities and you can take the trades and you trade properly with proper risk management, you should be able to last in this game because you're going to have losing streaks. But as long as your win streaks or your wins outweigh the losses, you'll be perfectly fine, right? Like you can take the losses, but then if you can hang on until the wins happen, then you should be able to survive long term. That's why I'm only looking for trades with minimum max drawdown and profit factor of 2 for my target entries. And the reason for that, if you guys are not familiar with profit factor, that basically tells us that, for one loss, you'll have 1.968 wins, right? If you take, for the most part, majority of the trades. So, you want to keep that in a positive risk to reward. Plus, you want to have minimum drawdown. Plus, you want to have at least a very, very decent profitability. Realistically, you need above 33%. So anything above that, 55 is going to be pretty good. All right, we got the entry coming up in a bit, guys. In a quick bit, you guys will see. Let me check the trade real quick. It's looking like it's going to be a no entry. The next one. It's looking like it's going to be a no entry. All right, let me scroll down real quick. Yeah, Message. So I just saw your message right now. Yeah, if you can track a Message, that'd be good. The reason why I don't want to track them on my list for the spreadsheet is because I don't want to have different data, right? Because we've been tracking it this specific way for, pretty much all of November and basically all of December. And I don't want to change it where we're tracking a certain way and then all of a sudden we go without the direction, right? Because we've been tracking direction pretty much for the past 2 months. So it's going to mess up the data set, right? If we were tracking no direction for the entire time, great. But because we've been tracking, I mean, we have like how many lines of data now? I have almost 300 lines of data with the direction. I don't want to have to throw it off because it's going to make a big difference. Yeah, that'd be good if you could, Miss Each. Thanks. Let's see. Justice said, why would it be no entry if we have a buy momentum? Uh, so if you look at the 652 entry, it is against momentum and it's for a buy, right? So in order for you to have a buy here, you need to have a sell momentum. So that's why it wouldn't be an entry justice. Yeah. Yeah, I'm just going down the list right now. So that's something coming up. You're good. Yeah, you're good. The next one could be good though. So yeah. Yeah, because that's the one that just came up. So 652. But yeah, I know you're referring to the one after, right? Obviously, we're not following, we're not taking the against, but it's just for the list. Either way, no entry. So we got the one coming up in a bit. I'm not gonna put it on here yet, but Yeah, but the following one could be one that's coming up justice. It's not a target entry, but it is coming up. I'm going to be paying attention to this year because we do have the one after. All right, we got something coming up in a bit. ATR is currently at 23. The ATR is really feels really bipolar in a sense, right? It's earlier it was like up above, well, the big drop obviously super heavy, and then now it kind of slowed down quite a bit. Make sure all the accounts are good. Oh, I dropped this before. Let's see. I'm gonna move it
Order submitted.
closer to the candle close. So I'll probably drop it like a second or a couple of seconds before so I can get filled. Three, two, and one. Let's see if it gets filled. If it doesn't get filled, then cancel it.
Order filled.
Volatility is a little low, but we'll see. Follow here. See if we get that bounce off the pivots right there. Push right back up. We actually got two running alongside, but I'm not following the 54. I'm on the 55. So I'm looking for this, basically this big drop right here to get filled, right? Because price dumped right here on open. And if it pushes back up this area, it's going to fill back to opening price, which is right here at 630. Got a couple of other entries running alongside it, so we'll see. It's got it's got like four other entries following alongside it. It's just the volatility is really low. The ATR is currently at 20 right now. So we're not really getting too much of movement, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Hey Sam, morning. Yeah, I got in with a limit order, so I get an exactly at price. But the volatility is just really low. So we just gotta hang on and for the most part wait. We're up about 15 points right now in profit, but it's not really moving too much. So we're just waiting for momentum to follow. There's a there's a lot of entries that are lined up with it. This is gonna be the last target that's aligned, I believe. Yeah. So we'll see how price here moves. Obviously, we want it to pick up a little bit. I do like the bounces off the pivots right there. So it looks like the momentum is picking up to the upside, of course. It's just a little slow. Yeah, something in my eye. Yeah, Daniel said it's bouncing off the sessions. Let's go over here. Yeah, so right now it's currently bouncing off the sessions right there. It's having trouble getting past the sessions. Yeah, that's a key thing right there. Once you can get past the sessions right there, I think it'll be solid. It just needs to really push past it. And it's currently sitting within the imbalance. So what we'd like to see is we'd like to see this imbalance here get invalidated, right? Basically, right, price came back, retested the imbalance, invalidate the imbalance, and push right through. Ideally, that's what we'd like to see there. But the volatility here is pretty low. Volatility and momentum is a little flat. It might be tough right here because it's bouncing off it, or it's trying to. So let's see pivots. If it could get a pretty, so we got some pretty nice rejections off the pivots right there, right? If we can get a strong rejection, it pushes right through, great. If not, then it might come back down. All right, it's all good. Got stopped out of that position. We'll stop out right there. It's all good. We'll see what we got here next.
Stop filled.
So that's considered a fair loss in a sense. You can see over here. I didn't realize you were at the sessions, and it wouldn't make a difference with the position, but you can see here this is kind of where price was having trouble. I was wondering why it was stuck right there. Daniel mentioned that yeah, it was just kind of sitting at the sessions right there. What I was looking for again was, I was looking for price to kind of break through it and invalidate this imbalance and push up higher. But like what Masij mentioned, it's hard when you're in a position like this in the imbalance because there's two things that are likely to happen: break, retest, or break and invalidate, right? So we'll see what we got here next. That was just the entry right there. And then we have, I mean, the next one's not for a while, guys. We got some time until that happens. But like I said, I'm taking these entries based on like the criteria. I'm not really taking any not really looking uh at anything outside of it. I'm just taking it based off the algo. So no technicals for me. Just going straight off the algo. And we'll see what we got here next. So yeah, Justice said, yeah, that session's level held strong. It held pretty for a while here. I mean, the volatility was really low. I was really hoping it was going to break past it. I mean, it closed back past it on the first candle right there. So the entry was at six. Actually, no, okay, 656. So the entry happened right here, or no, 655. 655 and then 656. So it broke right here, faked out right there, and then it had trouble for like one, two, three, four candles, and then it shot down. The next entry is going to come up a little later, closer to later in the session, towards the end. So let me see. Looking at the probabilities for this specific entry that we took. So let me just pull it up real quick. And I wouldn't be surprised if this thing here comes right back up, right? I mean, it looks like price just had trouble right there getting past that area. And if it does push back up for a correction, um, it wouldn't be a really big surprise. So let's just go over here real quick. I'm gonna look at the data. So that trade right there at 655, it had a 7.51% drawdown. So you can see over here from the list, it doesn't really draw down very often. It usually has like maybe two losses before it, or not even two losses, just one loss. So one loss right here, and then the next one's a win. One loss right here, the next one was a win. One loss right here, the next one was a win. This one over here, two losses, and then the next two are wins. So just looking at the data here, I mean, this was a really good trade overall with regard to the statistics, right? 65% probability, 7.51 max drawdown, profit factor of 2.678. So with every loss, there's a basically almost three trade win. Looking over here at the trade analysis, the buys are really good. It only lost one loss in the past month. All right. There's 9 buys here, 8 wins, one loss. And then for the shorts, it had 11 shorts, 5 wins, 6 losses. So overall, trade was good. We followed it based off the statistics. Like I said, there's going to be losses here. So as long as you follow the max equity drawdown, shouldn't have a problem with eating losses because eventually once you have the wins, it'll bounce right back. So this was my first trade I took in a really long time. Honestly, I haven't taken a trade since I think mid-November. Um, so first trade I think I was hoping it would win. It looked good initially. It was in profit for a while, and then it ended up coming right back down. So with that being the case, we have another inch right here that's coming up at 705. This is against momentum, so it's not one that I'm looking to take, obviously. But we'll see. I have one more opportunity a little lower. So a little later in the session, we have one more opportunity for it to come through. Again, like I said earlier, this was a cluster of trades between 655 and 658. I would never overlap the position. And you can see over here the trades were running for a while. So like there was one at basically 655 until 658. So there was a cluster of 1, 2, 3, 4 trades, and I wouldn't overlap them. And we didn't really get the flickering momentum until like this one right here at 7 o'clock. Let's see. Barack said, wow, your stop order is exactly at 48007. Yeah, blasted right through it. Yeah, Barack said stop loss for 20 is not for me considering that move up. We get a small retracement. Here, let's see. I mean, it wouldn't make a difference on this one here because price did push past it. So even if I had a 30-point stop loss, still would have stopped out. 40-point stop loss, still would have stopped out. 50 might have survived it, but it's a pretty wide stop loss right there. So I'll take my 20 and then I'll wait for the next one, of course. Yeah, let's see. Masih said worried about a little retrace, then might retrace below imbalance and shoot up. That was kind of what I was expecting here, but it actually didn't play out that way, right? I said it, well, for what I was looking at, I was like, okay, this thing might come below the imbalance and then shoot right back for correction. But it looks like it's just retesting the imbalance and coming down further. Yeah. I mean, there's a break and retest right here. So this is actually surprising right here to see this because usually I don't see a double retest of the imbalance. Usually it's one retest, right? You see one retest and then it comes down lower. This one over here is a double retest. It looked like it was going to be a full-on reversal. So like looking at market structure right here, the market structure was actually pretty decent overall for a push to the upside. Plus I was looking for price to fill this big candle right here, right? So I would have seen this or I would have looked for it to basically fill this candle back to open and then maybe back down lower, right? But obviously wasn't the case there. There's like a million ways to analyze this depending on how you guys wanted to see it. But I mean, it is what it is, right? What happened happened. And then looking at this here right now, I think the next entry. So there was one that was against momentum at 705. That was for a buy entry. So obviously no entry there at 705. The momentum was right on it. No entry on that one. Next one's coming up in a few moments. Another against momentum, but now this one's for a sell. Let's see. I'm gonna scroll down. Yeah, Justice said it fought so hard at 973. It's been on fire last week, so I had to take an L soon enough. Yeah. The trades were really hot from last week. So if you guys followed or not on Friday, actually, Friday was a 10-hour day. So, you're gonna have 10-hour days like that every every week. I was hoping it wasn't gonna be the case today, but yeah, the 10-hour days are usually followed by either a choppy day or either a losing day, of course. But we'll see. We'll let's see what we'll do. Let's see. Masih said it's doing exactly what I said it would do. Um, but it didn't correct back up, Masih, right? Because you were looking for it to pull back, retrace, and then pull right back up higher, right? I mean, it might happen here. I mean, it may be a W pattern in a sense, but I was kind of expecting this to Oh, gotcha. Okay, so Massager's looking for it to retrace back to the below. Yeah, basically a W pattern. That's what you're looking for. Yeah, that could be the case if it drops lower. I mean, the other entry at, later today is going to be in that direction, so we'll see. We just need one win after this. Since we're doing a 1 to 2, we just need one win to recoup the loss. So it's not like it's not the end of the world, right? So yeah, we'll try to get this over here and get that recouped. So we still have another opportunity later. This is why I prefer to do a 1 to 2. For obvious reasons here, 1 to 2 is going to be very beneficial with being able to take two trades. Usually I try to aim for like two trades for the day. If I don't have two trades for the day, then I typically or I mean if I have two trades and they're both losses, I just call it a day for the most part. So yeah, we will see as we get closer to that entry point. Well, we just don't have it here right now. Here, let me list all the follow-up entries. So 654 was or 654. That was a buy with momentum. So I'm looking at the cluster over here. There was a lot of entries that came up. Like looking back at it, I mean, there was a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it just went straight down from there. Uh, so I mean, obviously all of these here are going to be kind of back to back. So let me just look at the list here. The 705 was no entry, of course. That was for a buy. This next one coming up over here. Yeah, that cluster was tough because that cluster was, I would have expected at least one or two of them to hit, right? But it just came straight down from that point right there. So that's going to mess up the list a lot with regard to the data. Let me check the previous Monday. I'm surprised you traded today, Missy. You usually don't trade on Mondays. I mean, I usually don't trade on Mondays either, but the list was so good that I figured that today would be good. If you look at the 24th, so if you look at the spreadsheet, guys, on the 24th, Monday was, if you look at like the only days that are really bad, and I'm looking at it right now, are Mondays. So if you scroll up on the spreadsheet, guys, and you just look at all the trades that we listed, Mondays are the days that are usually the only bad days that come up. So if you look at Monday 24th, that was a bad day. Um, actually not all Mondays. It was just that Monday, and then there was like a Thursday, I think, yeah, last week. That's also because our list of trades were so much longer. On Thursday, I think there was like one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. It was like 28, 29 entries on Thursday of last week. So obviously there's going to be a lot more right there. Let's see. Sam said bad price action, not trading the fair value. Yeah. I mean, the price action right here, I mean, it's continuing to the downside, but you can see that the volume is really low. The ATR is actually really, really low right now. 17 ATR. That's pretty flat. It's pretty flat. I'm kind of annoyed that our stop here got spiked out of because I'm assuming some of you guys got some slippage on that. I think I got some slippage on one of them. Yeah, Masih said, well, our theory holds true. If it goes into drawdown fast, then chances are that it's going to lose. Yeah, I mean, that's usually the case, right? So, well, the problem with this right here is that we didn't really have drawdown very much in the beginning. That's why I thought this was going to be a good entry. So our entry happened right here at 655, and it was actually pretty good for the first like 3 or 4 minutes. And then it started to go into drawdown right here at 658, which was the last cluster. Um, or the last of the cluster. And I think this would be a little too late for us to really even make the decision. I mean, we'd have to get out right here at 659. It would have been a smaller loss, of course, like maybe. And this could be a factor that we can look at. I don't know if this is something we can pull from the data message, but if we could, I mean, yeah, this would be helpful. Like how like the time of drawdown per entry. I don't know if that's something we could pull. I mean, we probably. I mean, I don't know. It might be hard because I can't. You can't really back test it to see if it goes in a drawdown like that. Okay, got you. Already have it listed. Okay, perfect. Well, if that's the case, then yeah. Once we have enough information, we would probably use that to our advantage. But for the most part, from the very beginning, we talked about this, right? If price ever goes into drawdown, it's usually not going to play out because normally the entries that hit, they almost never go into drawdown. They just stay above in profit. They kind of sit above there, maybe retest the entry a little bit, and then it shoots right through. For these first couple candles, it did look really good though, right? We saw price kind of push up, and I was like, okay, this is great. I'm going to see it push off the pivot and shoot right back up higher. And it wasn't the case. But yeah, when we have the data, of course, the data is going to point towards it a little better and more consistently. Let me scroll down a little further. Yeah, Justice said, yeah, I delayed, got in at 56 because I was hoping for an entry to close above 7,973. Let me scroll down lower. Yeah, Masisha Sean, the cluster was with momentum, and you could kind of see the momentum shifting to the downside. The indicator was kind of delayed, accounting for that in deep back test. Yeah, no, it's good to, I mean, if we can get that, the thing is, I just didn't see the penny momentum at all. So that's why I was okay with it. Yeah, Rev said you got major slippage on the last one. So Ed took the sell at 705. Nice. Perfect. All right, 716 is coming up. That's gonna be the next one here. It's not gonna be an entry. It's gonna be another no entry. So 716 is gonna be a no entry. Reason for that's because it's against momentum and it's for a sell, but we have a sell momentum here, so it's not gonna meet the criteria. 717 though, the one after it, it's against, but it could possibly meet the criteria there. All right, so we still got some time. We have a while, guys. We have a while until we get to the next target entries. We have a couple over here that will follow. These are part of the listed entries. They're not target entries, but they'll be listed. They're pretty close. Yeah, for the most part, they're pretty close. So if you look at the list, guys, there's a cluster of with momentum below, and they all like are really close. So if you look at the max drawdown, there's like only like one criteria that wasn't met for a lot of them. So for the first one, if you look at it, I'm not going to say that the timestamp, but if you guys look at the list, it's at 1.982 profit factor, right? In order for it to be a target entry, it has to have a 2 profit factor, right? So it's off only by like a few percentages, like a little, like very, very small number of points right there. And then the win percentage as well. So you guys will see there. I just realized, so if you guys look at the list of entries, the last one's actually not a target entry, guys. That's a mistake. I just realized that it's a 50% overall profit or probability. It has to be above a 55. So just something to keep in mind. If you guys want to take it, I mean, feel free. It's still technically above um, with the specific direction. It's just the overall. So again, that's another one that's really, really close. So going back to that, and I'll call it the number. It's 752, the very last one. It is the max drawdown is 7.10. The criteria is less than 8, so that meets the criteria. The profit factor is 2, so it's exactly on the dot. The overall is just slightly off. It's 50%, should be above 55, but if you look at the cells, it's 55.56. So just something to keep in mind there. Uh, all right, so with that being the case, let's see, we have so the 717 was it's actually running right now. So this is against momentum. It's not one that I would have looked to take, but it is currently running right now if you guys wanted to take it. So this is the 717. Let me just put the criteria in here real quick so that you guys can see what to expect. Okay, so for this entry over here, this is against momentum. This one actually has a really high, like, this is a good setup. It's just against momentum. So this would have been a target entry for against, but we're not taking the against momentum trades. So looking at this right here, the max drawdown is actually really low. It's 4.90. It has a profitability of 65% or probability, and has a profit factor of 3.124. So this shows that for every loss, you have 3.124 wins. So this here is running, this is against momentum. This is the 717 entry. The numbers here are great. So again, like I said, we're just basing it off the numbers here. It's against the trend, but we don't care about that. We're basically going off the numbers here, right? Max drawdown shows that it barely has any losses. So if you look over here, it has losses from time to time, but it recoups pretty quickly. So like for example, one loss right here, and then one, two, three, four back-to-back wins. One loss right here, win right there, loss right there, win right here, two back-to-back wins. Two losses right here, two wins. It's a 1 to 2, so this is technically 4. So you basically have a negative 2R plus 4R. And then this one over here, it shows that there was two back-to-back losses. So with that being the case, usually it doesn't have more than two back-to-back losses. This is what Masij was mentioning before, when he follows if there's losses and whatnot. If we're getting close to that range where there's a lot of back-to-back losses where it reaches the max loss, it's usually going to win, usually. There's no guarantees it's going to happen, but it usually lines up with that criteria. So, all right. So with that being the case here, Brock and Ed, I just saw your messages. Yeah, so Ed went for a sell, I think. Brock went for a buy, and then Ed took the win. Nice work. Yeah, Masih said you're right. For the cluster, it could have gone either direction. The volume was slowing down, but it could have broke through. No way to know. Yeah, that's why, like, again, we want to go based off the data, Masih, and not really uh, have any discretion, right? And that's the whole point of pulling the data set. So a win right here, guys. For this was against momentum. So if you took both trades right there, I mean, like I said, the probabilities here were good, right? They kind of lined up pretty nicely. This is why I have the criteria in place, right? This is the whole reason why we stick to this criteria, because like I said, losses are going to happen, but if you stick to the criteria, after you take a loss or a couple losses or whatever it may be, if you keep sticking to it, the wins are going to happen right after. So if you took both trades here, this is a negative 1R, this is a positive 2R. So you basically would bounce back from this with the second trade. That's why I'm looking for the second trade here. I want the second trade to come up. And obviously I'd like it to hit. Because if that's the case, then I can recoup my loss very quickly. So we'll uh we'll see what we got. I'm still waiting for the next opportunity. Rob, I just saw your message too. Paul said on against momentum trades, I use a 1-to-1 restore. Solid, yeah. I mean, if that works for you and you like how that works, Paul, great. You don't have to do 1 to 2 on all of them. I mean, ideally you should, but if you don't want to and you feel comfortable with the 1 to 1, that's fine too, right? Because if that was the case, you'd still be at break even, right? Because you do a 1 hour and then this is a 1 to 1, so you basically be at they'll be balanced out. Let's see. Masij said, I don't know what I'm doing right now. Thanks, Sean, for calling me out on trading on a Monday. I'm just impatient. I lost half my profit from that stupid W pattern. Still 35 points for the day, but I'm stopping. Yeah, I mean, it's always hard uh, if like no one's calling you for it, right? I mean, but that W pattern that you mentioned, I mean, it looks like it's starting to set up a little bit, Masij. It's just not a super clean one, right? And we'll see if it holds. But again, we don't want to use discretion here, right? We're trying to base all the entries off the algo. I mean, if you want to use discretion or if you want to use technicals, perfectly fine. But we have the foundation here to look at specific entries in a specific direction, of course. So there goes those entries right there. The next entry, which I mean, it actually already came up. I'm not counting the against momentums, but let's see. Let's take a look. So 720 over here was for a sell. There's no entry there. You have another one coming up in a little bit, about like a couple minutes. Yeah, it's coming up in a couple minutes over here. So market's been pretty rangy today overall. I mean, just looking at this so far, let's see. It's really respecting that imbalance. Let me see if there's any other structure here that I mean, not really. There's nothing here to, there is structure up here, but it's kind of pointless to mark up. It's just going to line up with the imbalance. But we already have the imbalance here, so I don't want to overlap, the markups over here. The price coming down. And there's another imbalance here. There's basically two imbalances. Imbalance within the imbalance. So price is still dumping. So here's the thing, we have a couple imbalances here, but we don't really, I mean, we do have structure. If you look at this here, price is kind of respecting the sessions right here. So we have structure right there and we have structure down here. Price is basically double bottom on this structure already. So double bottom right there off the this is the New York low from Friday. I mean, realistically, if you look at this from a outside looking in perspective, it's really just ranging between the sessions. But again, I don't really care for the technicals. I'm looking at the algo over here. The next algo entry, let me check the list. Coming up in a few minutes. It's a cluster of directional moves over here, though. So, I mean, the cluster started at 720. It was no entry. And the cluster is going to follow through for the next, we'll see, the next 5-10 minutes, basically. Let's see. Yeah, see, Masij said, yeah, I'm in a vicious cycle of going from data to technicals. You know what? I'm not even going to look at the charts anymore. I'm just going to use my bot that just trades the targets for me Tuesday to Thursday. I'm so done with analysis. Yeah, see, the problem with analysis, Masij, is that you could be right or you could be wrong. But the only thing that you really focus on that you pay attention to is for the one that plays out, right? So like you had analysis over here for a W pattern, but the thing is this could have gone either way, right? Um, so like for right now, you're like, oh yeah, my W pattern worked because it sort of worked, but not really, right? If you look at the W pattern here, it didn't actually do it, right? Well, I mean now it's not doing it looked like it over here, right? The W pattern looked great, but it actually didn't follow through. It's actually coming back down. So this is like a WW pattern in a sense. That's why I don't like technicals as well. Obviously, I have a technical background, but this is why I think technicals are tricky because you guys are only going to focus on what works, right? So like you can have an analysis and you're like, okay, W pattern, but then you can have a different analysis for an M pattern here, right? And then you could have an analysis for both ways, but you're only going to stick with what would actually work, right? So if the W pattern doesn't work, you're like, oh yeah, I saw an M pattern here. Or if the M pattern doesn't work, you're like, oh yeah, I saw a W pattern here. And that's like that's just the nature of trading, right? Like people always want to be right in a sense. And this isn't specific to Messi, this is just in general. It's your psychology, right? It's the way that you see the market. You only want to see what's right, but you have to understand that the losses are going to happen. So it's okay to take a loss because as long as the numbers line up, you're going to have a win eventually. Like for me, I'm not taking any trades that have less than a 55% probability. So I know I'm going to have losses here and there, but the wins are going to outweigh it. So it's okay to take the losses when they happen and take the wins when they happen as well. So just something to keep in mind. It's you just got to stick to the data. Yeah, Masih said, yeah, I keep coming back to the same conclusion. Analysis isn't real. The data is the only real thing. We'll have the deep back test soon. I'm so excited to just take things, not worry, no analysis, just watching. Yeah, that's why I'm not too upset about this position here, right? I mean, the analysis was what it was, but the trade just didn't play through. So like if you're just based off technicals or based off discretion, like normally this would kind of piss me off, right? I think this would piss a lot of people off if you're like, oh, you wanted this trade to hit and it goes against you and you lose. But the thing is, like, there was no analysis here that was really necessary, just following the trades as they come up or as they appear or as they are supposed to appear. So, all right, there's another entry over here coming up, guys. If you guys are looking to take it, it's not a target entry. Obviously, there's a flickering momentum there. See how this is flickering with the buy? This is what I just talked about over the past couple of weeks. When I see something like that, I typically don't want to take the trade because momentum is starting to shift the other way. But if you guys want to take it based off the list of trades, I mean, feel free. It's just this momentum looks like it's going to close, and I don't think that's going to be the case here for it to continue pushing. I mean, who knows? I could be right, I could be wrong, but there goes the initial cluster. So the initial cluster right now is currently active, or not initial cluster, but basically the start of the cluster, right? So this is the 731 entry. It was, and let me put the criteria over here real quick. I'll just it's a cluster of trades, so I mean you'll see here. So anyways, this is with momentum. Okay, so there's a short position right there. See how it entered right there? That's the entry. It's currently running in profit. This has a 6.20 max equity drawdown. This has a profitability of 50% or probability of 50% of it winning. The profit factor here was close, but not close enough. So there's two criteria here that didn't meet for this specific trade. This is why it didn't meet um, the target entries because looking over here, so in order for it to make the list, it only needs to make these criteria. But in order for it to be a target entry, it has to have less than 8%, which it does. The win rate has to be above 55%, which it doesn't. And the profit factor is below 2. So it has to have greater than two. And let me just space this out a little bit. It's easier to see. But this is a cluster of trades, so like there's gonna be trades following it. Like I said, see how that flickering momentum was up there? This is why I would have avoided the trade. I've been noticing this from like day one. Whenever there's a flickering momentum, it shows that momentum wants to flip the other way. So it's not exactly a trade that I'd be looking to take. The reason why this becomes a problem as well is because it messes with the cluster, right? Because the cluster is all for sells there. So if like one of them screws up, then then they all screw up, right? Because then they're going to start to fade each other. So I mean, we're going to follow it here, but there's a cluster of trades. Obviously, you wouldn't overlap the trades here. You just take the first one that came up in a sense. Yeah, Masish said he would have exited right now. As soon as I see a flicker, I'm out. Not in it, of course. Yeah, I wouldn't have even got in the first place, Masish, because it was already flickering on the prior candle, right? So like this would have been one that I would have been like, okay, this is not a good one to look at. Yeah. So like once I see that flicker, I'm like, okay, I'm going to avoid it completely, right? Because if it's flickering on that first one, it's probably going to flicker on the whole list, right? So the cluster, I'll just use the cluster here to kind of explain. So the cluster started at 731, right? We already had the flickering momentum here. So if that's the case, it's going to keep flickering for like the next 3 or 4 candles, right? So that's why for me, I wouldn't have taken any of these entries here because the first one would have screwed me up. And it's probably a good decision because you can see how price here is pushing to the upside, right? And again, that's another reason why it didn't meet the criteria because the profitability here had to be above 55% and the profit factor had to be above 1.9 or 2 points basically. So yeah, you guys see here how the cluster would have been screwed up. The cluster was between 731 and 733 because we had the flickering momentum already happening over here. You guys can see the shift of momentum. Price came down a little bit and it started shifting on this specific candle right here, right? 727. The reason I know that's because this is a strong momentum candle to the upside. So taking any sells here would have been, it could have been trouble. And you can say the same for this previous entry, our trade over here that would have came up. 655, I mean, that was the actual entry candle. So it's hard to like really identify that. There was no momentum dying out beforehand. But again, that's why you would ignore the technicals altogether. Here, let me change the criteria here, and then we'll just wait for the next one. I just want to clean this up 'cause it's so messy. But yeah, I think for the stats and stuff like that, we should probably like if there's a cluster of trades, we probably should stack on. We should probably leave it to whichever because we're not looking to overlap the trades there to begin with. Brooks, it's funny how I survived today. YM had me to rethink my life choices, LOL, considering all accounts were on the trade. Yeah, it happens. All right, let's see what we got here. So the next one's coming up in about 6 minutes. So I'll be waiting for that. Yeah, Masij said also you can see it's in chop. Momentums are coming up within. Yeah, and that was another thing that we talked about before, right? Once momentums start to come up very quickly, like they start to overlap, that's a time to skip or to kind of wait a little bit. It's not going to affect any of the previous positions we took, but like looking at this over here, when the momentum starts to flip up, I mean, obviously you can see prices going into a chop. Same with this right here. I mean, it's not super, super close, but it is kind of chopping up a little bit. Um, all right, let me update the spreadsheet. I know I'm just taking off the last one because it's not a target entry. So let me go over here real quick. Today kind of looks like a repeat of last Thursday. A lot of, I mean, for the most part, messy entries in a sense. 33. Yeah, it's just like a messy day in general. I'm like curious if I should even. Well, I'll follow it and I'll see how it looks like. I'm gonna try not to use my discretion or any of that stuff. But okay, let's back up a little bit. Let's go here to the main chart. See how price here is it's in a big range. So if you look at the market here, if we just ignore this big drop, I mean this drop rate basically pushed price into this range. Price has been ranging within basically between the sessions, and then now it's chopping up into this middle point. So we've actually been in a pretty choppy market. You probably can't see it that well on here, but if we go to something like here, let me see. Let's go on like something like a little bit of a higher time frame, like 5 minute or even 10 minute. So you guys can kind of see the chop here, right? Let me just take all the indicators off. So this thing's pretty much been chopping up between this whole area right here. This is the whole session, right? This is the big drop that happened on open, and then it's been chopping up between here the whole pretty much the whole day. Going on the 5 minute here, it's a little obvious too. And then the 1 minute, of course. So you can kind of see here, I mean, we've been in this range and whatnot pretty much all day, and then now it's getting into a tighter chop, which is like right here. Yeah, so if you look at the market structure, we have the big range right here. Price pretty much dumped into this area. It's been bouncing between the sessions, and then we have the smaller consolidation areas within this middle area here. Um, I mean, looking at the momentum here, this isn't really looking so hot, right? It's just like what Missy just mentioned. The momentum's kind of flipping back and forth, so there's no direction here. There's no direction to the upside. There's no direction to the downside. You don't really want to trade when the market's chopping up like this. Our previous entries were perfectly fine because we were in a big range, right? But with this right here, it's so small that like you could take a buy or a sell. You'd probably lose either way. We have an entry right here at 741. It was, or 740. It was against the momentum for a buy. That's a no entry. So no entry right there. We got the target entry coming up in a little bit. But I mean, looking at this so far, I don't even think this is going to come up. Yeah, Justice had agreed. We need to get out of this channel between the sessions. Yeah, we need to get out of this. I don't know if we're going to get out of this by 7:44. We're trying to get out of it by then. I don't even know if we're going to get a buy signal by then. We got a couple minutes here, so it's probably going to be a no entry. Siege. So yeah. I mean, so I think you mentioned like after the December payment, you said we could start the back test, right? Like if we can start the back test, we don't have to go super, super deep. But I mean, if we could start it and get the data at least for like, the past, I don't know, however far we can go, I think that'd be great if we could just get started. But yeah, you were right. And this it's we got to pay for the basically API data over time. But if we can start it, after the December one, I mean, that'd be good. If we could even just pull a couple, like even a year, maybe 2 years data. I don't know if it works like that. But you can actually, we'll talk in the Discord about that so we can go over the details. But the sooner the better, of course, just so that we have an idea of like what criteria to use. I think the criteria we have right now is pretty good, but obviously I'd like to go a little deeper and see what's even better in a sense. Yeah. I mean, the minimum criteria is pretty solid. I think this is good criteria. It's just really figuring out, okay, do we skip certain days? Do we, it's if there's anything that we could, I guess, include. For the most part, I mean, I think the criteria is pretty solid. But yeah, there's little things where if there's days we can skip, if there's like criteria we could add, criteria we could skip, remove. Um, Most of the time, the criteria is going to be about the same because we're going to base it based off drip mesh. I think this criteria is not going to change at all. We already had win rate earlier, but now we added on max drawdown and profit factor. So um, there's only so much we can change. So. Yeah, yeah. Send me a DM message. We'll talk in private and then we'll see what we can get going. Because if we can get it going like now, that'd be great, right? Just to even just pull data for like, I guess the year or the last year or the 2 year, whatever it may be. Um, Obviously the sooner the better. So the intro right here at 744, guys. Let's see. All right, so this is 744, guys. This is a target entry. Unfortunately, it's not going to meet the criteria. If you're looking at the spreadsheet right now, this was for a buy. So we actually wanted to take it for a buy here, but I mean, it's just not going to work because the criteria isn't there, right? We needed to have a buy momentum here, which we didn't. I just want to clean that up a little bit. So I wanted to have a buy momentum over here to take this here for a buy, but there was no buy momentum, so obviously there's no entry. So unfortunately, the last target entry for today is a no entry. We have one more coming up at 752. I'm not going to hide it, obviously, because it's not a target entry. But if you guys want to take this one at 752, so here is the criteria for it, or the numbers. So it has a 7.10 max drawdown. You can see the drawdown here is kind of nasty sometimes. I mean, previously, so like on basically November 10th, it had basically two back-to-back losses, but then it had a win. And then from November 14th to 17th, it had two back-to-back losses, but then from there, it had a pretty nice win streak from like 17th to 19th, two back-to-back wins. That's a 4 hour that would have covered all the losses here. And then a nice win streak over here between November 20th to the 25th. A little bit of some drawdown here from 26, 27, 28, three back-to-back losses, and then a bunch of wins right here to recoup it. So yeah, there's another entry coming up shortly, but it's not meeting the criteria. Again, the 744 entry was for a buy. It was for a buy with momentum. It had a 5.52 max drawdown, 60% overall, 75% for buys, 37% for sells, profit factor of 3. So this trade over here would have been a pretty good entry. It's just the criteria wasn't met with regard to momentum. So unfortunately, it's the trade that we had to skip out on, but it looks like it is pushing up like it should have. This was the last entry for the day that I was looking to get into. But because there was no buy momentum, we couldn't take the entry there. I mean, it's looking like a good trade. This would have been nice to recoup this loss over here, right? There goes, price pushes up higher. So again, this just, again, goes to show that like the algo here is identifying the reversals and the directional moves pretty decently. It's just there's gonna be a lot of cases where the momentum just doesn't line up. Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. Masish. So basically, we'll have the 5 years in total, but it won't have all the criteria. I guess that's what you mean, right? So it won't have all the criteria that you're looking for. Okay, cool. I mean, yeah, if we could pick and choose the criteria, I mean, I guess you probably have a better idea of like which ones to focus on. Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll talk on the Discord to discuss it further. But yeah, guys, I think this might be it for the entries. Well, there's one more entry. There's one at 752. If you guys have any questions, feel free to put your questions in the chat. We have one over here, and I'll just copy the list over. Okay, so here are the entries. So like I said, this one over here at 744, that was the last one that I was looking for. It was going to be for a buy. Unfortunately, there was no buy signal there, so I couldn't take it. It was with momentum. And pretty good statistics here. 5.52 max drawdown, 60% overall win ratio for probability, 75% for buys. That's why I was looking for the buy there, 37% for sells. And it had a 3-point profit ratio. This is pretty high for a 1 to 2, right? This is really high because basically what it's saying here is that for every loss, you basically would have 6 wins. And the reason why I say that's because it's a 1 to 2, right? So you multiply it by 2. So you'd have for every one loss, you'd have 3 wins, but if you're doing it or multiple, you'd have 6. So it's basically 1 to 6 in a sense. That's why I wanted to take this trade here, but it didn't meet the criteria. That's why I'm saying the profit factor is important because that's how you do the numbers, right? If I could have if I could have a ratio of like if I could lose one but make 6, I'm gonna take that trade. This trade over here, it didn't line up, so obviously I can take it. But if that was the case and it did line up, this would have been a really good entry to take. There's another one right here at 752. This is going to be opposite. So this is, ideally you want this one to hit first because this one's going to fade it, of course. But it's with momentum. So again, if there's no sell momentum that comes up right here, then there's just not going to be anything to take, right? There's just not going to be anything there to take. So looks like I'm gonna have to eat my loss for the day, unfortunately. I mean, it is what it is. Just got to eat that loss. And then, yeah, hopefully tomorrow we'll have another win to recoup it, which we should. We're at the start of the week, so if you guys remember from the statistics and from the data, usually Tuesdays are good days. The middle of the week are usually good. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are usually pretty good. Monday, Friday are usually the riskier days. So we'll see what we got. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to put your questions in the chat. Otherwise, we got one listed entry left. Not target, but it's still listed on there. So I know this is green right here, guys, but like I mentioned earlier, I screwed up on this because the overall is 50%. It has to be above a 55 to meet the criteria. So unfortunately, it doesn't meet the criteria. There's going to be a no entry there at, or no, it's not a no entry, but there's no it's not a target entry. And we got the choppy momentum here again. Choppy momentum here. Yeah, Sam said, I think you should tell your team it's December. It's always all over the place. Yeah, I was expecting the Santa rally. Most of you guys know about the Santa rally, right? Usually at the end of the year, there's this thing called a Santa rally where price becomes super bullish. And it actually, I mean, I thought it would have started by now, but it doesn't look like it for the most part. Yeah, it doesn't look like it at all. So these trades are going to fade each other. 744 is still for that buy. It hasn't hit TP yet. 752 is actually coming up because there's a sell momentum there. But I obviously, you guys can see it's very choppy. There's probably a flickering momentum on this one. This is why I don't like low volatility. Like right now, it's currently at 16 ATR. Volatility is really low. Below 20 is pretty low. But all right, guys. So for my official entries, I only took one trade, which was this one over here. Unfortunately, it was a loss. And that was about it. I mean, here's a list of trades right here. This is the cluster that I was talking about. There's a lot of trades that came up right here. 654 all the way down to 658. So basically it was one, or I mean, it was even more if you count these up here, right? 652 all the way down to 658. So this was a cluster of trades right here. It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 back-to-back trades. And whenever you have something like that, you try not to get in the way of it, right? So let me just go over here real quick and just want to take off the markups on the chart. But yeah, like so for example here, I wouldn't have taken like six trade or eight trades here, right? Because there's one, two, three, four, five, six. I wouldn't take any of those six trades. I would just take the one that I was getting into, which was 655. So that's the one I jumped into right there. Um, and I wasn't going to overlap it, but obviously you can see the trades here started at 652. Let me mark it up with the line. So it started at 652 right here, and then the cluster ended at 658. Yeah, pretty messy right there. But this is the only official trade I took. So took a loss for today, guys. Unfortunately, just one loss. I would have liked to have taken these trades over here, but I mean, obviously they didn't meet the criteria. This would have been nice because if I would have taken this one over here at 717, it was against momentum. This technically would have been a targeted entry, but because it was against, we didn't take it, right? So again, looking at this entry right here at 717, this is the one that I was just talking about. It had a 4.90 max drawdown. So it only goes into max drawdown of 4% or 5%. Had a probability of 65% overall, 70% for buys, 60% for sells. And this is what really sold me on that entry the most. It's a profit factor, right? 3.124, huge. The other entry right here at 752 is still running. So if you guys are in it, it was fading the other position, but it's currently still running right now. So I don't like when that happens when they fade both of them. It's just choppy market. One of them's gonna work, one of them's not. But all right, guys, I think that might be it for the day. If you guys have any questions, feel free to put your questions in the chat. Let me see if I'm missing anything. Masij said we like the 20-30 range for the algo. I sent the full plan for the deep back test. Let me know if you don't understand any stage. Okay, cool. I'll take a look at it. Let's see. Okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, it makes sense. Masij, I'm looking at it. Yeah, so I'll run the numbers with my accountant and we'll see what we can do. Maybe we can push out more early on. I mean, obviously that'd be ideal, but we'll see. I mean, I'll talk to him and then we'll see. But yeah, no, that sounds good. I think, once we get to stage two, I think that's going to help a lot because we'll have more basically what we're doing now, but with more statistics and more data. Should be great. But I think yeah, I think getting to stage three would probably be the most ideal too, because we can do the first real deep back test. Yeah, so maybe we could do that. Maybe we get to stage three quicker, and then obviously the final stage would kind of wrap it up and be pretty good to go. I mean, either way, we'll have the data within the next 2 months, so there's a rush there, but not a crazy rush, right? I think if we get a stage two, stage three, I think that'd be ideal, and then stage four, obviously we'll have all the data ready to go. Okay, cool, Masij. Yeah, so I'll be in touch with you a little later today. Just gotta move some things around and see what we can get going. Hopefully sooner than later. Let's see what else we got here. Yeah, exactly. It's not a big difference at all. but it would be best to have it as soon as possible, right? I think that'd be key. Sam said 47824. Yeah, so Sam is looking for this to come down as well. This aligns also with the 752 entry. So this one over here at 744 wouldn't have been an entry to begin with because we didn't have momentum. So obviously that wouldn't be an entry. This 752 is one that actually would have this would be an actual entry. But it just wasn't a target entry because this number was off. I mean, technically, I guess if we really wanted to take this position, we still could have taken it because this is what I was talking about. Since we were looking for a sell here, right? Direction was for a sell. The sell percentage was actually above 55. So it still would have been, it just wasn't there for the overall. So let's see. All right, Masich, we'll talk soon. Michael's asking, so the highlighted trades were trades taken? No, the highlight trades are the targeted trades. They're not taken if don't meet the criteria though. So those are the ones that we were looking to take. But so looking over here at 655, that was one that we did take. We didn't take these ones after because they overlap, right? You're not gonna double up on the positions. The 744, this was a no entry because it was a buy with momentum. And over here at 744, this was a sell, right? So we have a sell momentum here. So technically, there's only two entries here that would have lined up. This one, 655, and now I kind of wish we took that 752 entry because these are the only two entries that would have came up actually. Technically, I mean, I should have just jumped into it, but it's okay. I don't want to go against my criteria there. Yeah, no problem, Michael. Justice caught it. Nice work, Justice. So, like I said, the only thing here that was my mistake for marking this up as a target entry was the overall. But like I said, the win rate isn't like the biggest factor here, right? The bigger factor is going to be max drawdown and profit factor. As long as this is below 8% and this is above 2 or 2 or above, it makes the criteria there. So Paul got it, Justice got it. Nice. Yeah, and Justice is back in profit. So this is why it's important using a 1 to 2 because you can lose a trade, like for example, this one over here. But if you win another one, you make it right back. Right. So nice work, Justice, on catching that. And then I think Sam, your position is about to hit as well. You're on your way down. Oh, you already hit it. Yeah. All right, guys. So I think that might be it for the day. Man, that would have been a good entry. Now I'm like kind of kicking myself, right? But it's okay. It happens. Um, I got to stick to the game plan. The game plan was above 55, and this was just off by like a few, basically like one trade. So yeah, Revs, did you make it right? You make it right back as long as you don't have slippage on the loss. And not just regular slippage, right? Massive slippage. Justice said, yeah, the sell seems strong because of the rest of the market was kind of bleeding one for one for the day. Nice work, Justice. Okay, cool. So um, I'll update the spreadsheet here. So let's see. Let me update the spreadsheet over here too. So that was a loss. All right, so this is going to be a little or here, I'll put this. I think this would probably make more sense to put this over here. I think we have to identify what's an overlap because I mean obviously it's important. It's so we know that we're not taking like trade that should be skipped, of course. Okay, so this makes more sense. I just updated the spreadsheet. If you guys want to pull it up here, I'll pull it up for you guys. So I mean technically these trades shouldn't have been taken because they overlap. I mean I put a loss there, but these should actually be not because so here's my list over here. Obviously, I wouldn't have taken these other trades that followed it because they overlapped. It was at 655 was the one I took. That one lost. And then 656, obviously these trades were still active, so we wouldn't have taken them. Um, so we had a loss on this one, 655. There's no entry at 744. There's another one down here that would have won, of course, 752, but it just didn't meet the criteria. So for these over here, if this over here would have been skipped, then the numbers here actually would make more sense. I mean, this is how it should have been to begin with, because we would never take the overlapped entries, right? So like looking at the statistics here, it would just be at a negative 2R for the day. So not a horrible day right there. I mean, even these right here, right? These are all overlapped as well. So let me go over here real quick and just pull it up. So 731 was an entry that was running. Yeah, because there's no way that we would take an overlap entry. So 731 over here, this is for a sell, of course. And we're just keeping it realistic, right? Because you're not going to take every single entry that comes up. So if you look over here, basically these would have overlapped all the way until 733. So technically you wouldn't have all those losses. Like you would never just keep taking losses back to back to back. It just wouldn't make sense, right? So these over here would technically be overlapped. If you were to calculate it this way, it would be a break-even day for the most part. Because realistically, this is how it would have worked out, right? Because you wouldn't take one trade that's losing and then you double up on your loss, right? Or triple up or quadruple up on your loss. Because these over here overlap, this is why it's key to understand that more is not better, right? Less is actually better because instead of having one loss, you'd have, or instead of having six losses, you just have one. So technically today, if you were to take every single trade that came up, or if the ones that at least didn't overlap, it'd be at a break even R. And then if you took the trade, well, obviously there's only one trade here that I took that was official. It'd be a negative 1R. So we're not really that far behind. I mean, last week was so good, right? Friday we had a plus 4R, Thursday negative 1R, Wednesday plus 2R. So for the month so far, it's pretty good. I mean, let's just do the math over here real quick. So 1R on the first. So this would be break even. One plus one, negative one, plus two, minus one. That's gonna be plus one, plus four. That's gonna be 5R, and then negative one for today. So that'd be we're basically at a positive 4R for the month of December overall, for the target entries at least. And again, right here, so if we were to do what I just talked about, see how these over here overlapped? This actually would have been skipped. So just some stuff to keep in mind. Well, you got to keep it realistic, right? You're not going to take every single trade. So you want to make sure that the statistics and the data is proper. But all right, yeah, Sam said it's all part of the game. Glad, Sean, you're enjoying the algo. It looks profitable as I see every day. Yeah, definitely, Sam. So all right, Sam, we'll see you back here tomorrow. If you guys have any questions, feel free to hit me up on Discord. Justice said, "Hey, we love when the slippage is in our favor now." Yeah, right. Only when it's in our favor. When it's against us, we hate it. But all right, guys. Okay day for the start of the week. We'll pick back up tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow will be better. I'll try to have lists out earlier than usual, so that you can kind of analyze it, see what you guys want from it, and then I'll try to color code it a little better so we know what's against and what's not. But all right, guys, that's it for the day. If you guys have any questions, hit me up on Discord. Otherwise, I will see you guys back here tomorrow for the next live session. So.